So believe it or not, it's been over 2 years since I did my last Q&A video, and so I thought it was time to change that. And so I reached out to you over on Twitter and here on YouTube, and I asked what questions you have for me, and there were heaps that you guys sent through. And so I'm gonna try and get through as many as I can today. First question, which video/project have you in the past worked on that challenged you and frustrated you the most? This is a great question, and I actually went back through my entire feed of videos to try and jog my memory of which one frustrated me the most, and it's actually a recent one. So my review of the OnePlus 5T. Now, the reason why it frustrated me the most was because I just had a long layoff from making YouTube videos. I'd been traveling, I'd made a whole heap in preparation so that I could upload still weekly for a little bit, and so I'd actually ended up having about a month and a half to 2 months of making videos. And so when I got back, that was the first video that I was making. And I realized that I'd gotten out of the habit of actually how to make my videos. And so it became a really inefficient process. It was taking me a long time to do. I wasn't happy with the video, but I ended up pushing through and I uploaded it, and I was pretty happy with it in the end, but it was a really testing video to make because of how I'd gotten out of the habit of making videos. So that was a really good learning curve for me to make sure that I am constantly creating. Otherwise I get out of the habit, and I don't think that's good for my channel. Which icon pack do you use most? Great question, easy answer. It's the Crichton icon pack. And the reason why I love this icon pack is because A, it's got that circular shape to each of its icons, which means in a setup, it looks uniform, which I personally love. And then also I really love the pastel color vibe to each of the icons. As you can probably tell by the way that I color grade my videos, I prefer a more subdued, soft look to the videos rather than strong saturated colors. And for some reason that's translated into my icon packs as well. Don't know why, but that is the icon pack that I've been using the most, I think, in all of my icon pack usage time. How/where do you get your music in your videos from? I get asked this question heaps, and that's why I wanted to include it in today's video. But I get all of my music for all of my YouTube videos from a website called Epidemic Sound. And this website is pretty much designed for YouTubers who want to use music in their videos and still make money from their videos. And so that's why you'll notice that a lot of different YouTubers use this same website. If you go into the description below, some are even affiliates with Epidemic, and that's where I get all of my music from. You basically pay a yearly subscription fee, and that gives you access to a massive library of copyright-free songs. What makes the website even better is that if you, let's say, use a song and you love the sound of it, but there's something that's not quite sitting well in your video, you can go back, you can download the individual stems from each track. So let's say you love the drums but hate the vocals, you can just download the drums. Or if you want the ambient sound removed, you can download everything but the ambient sound, and then you can really structure the music and place it and time it, make it sound exactly how you want it to sound within your video. So Epidemic Sound, I recommend it. It's not super cheap, but it's also pretty good value for money. What's the biggest struggle you face when explaining what you do on YouTube? Good question. I had to think about this one for a moment. People don't seem to have much of an issue when I say that I'm a tech YouTuber, but it's when they ask me what sort of videos do you make that I run into a few issues when trying to explain the sort of videos that I make. And mainly that's because of the video series, Top Android Apps, and the best Nova Launcher setups, particularly the second one. And I'm trying to explain to them that people send me their setups via email of how they customize their home screen on Android, and that I showcase my favorite ones and put all of the parts and links and stuff in the description below. And at this point, their eyes are sort of glazing over and they're nodding along, but I realize that they really have no clue what I'm talking about, and it makes sense. I wouldn't have a clue what I'm talking about if I wasn't interested in Android either. So that is probably the biggest issue that I come into, the biggest struggle when it comes to explaining what I do here on YouTube, specifically in terms of the videos that I make. Are you going to be making a video course for filmmaking? This question probably comes as a response to something I posted on Twitter a little while ago, which said in the next year or so, I want to get into making some premium content. Now, the reason I want to make premium content is because really YouTube ads aren't enough to earn a living off in terms of YouTube, and neither is affiliate income for me. And sponsorships are great, but they're also not super reliable, and so I can't lean on them to be a constant source of income. And therefore, I want to create something where I can go a little more hard with my YouTube channel and make a little bit more money off it. And so premium content seems like a great option. So in terms of premium content, yes, I was thinking about doing something in regards to filmmaking, whether it be just filmmaking using a particular camera, or maybe creating YouTube videos or something similar where I feel like I've got a fair bit of knowledge with that I can share with you guys. And so that is something I'm interested in doing. It's obviously going to be a long process to get there, but if you are interested in something like that, then let me know down in the comments below, because if people are on board with that and want me to do that and would be interested in supporting me that way, then I'd probably be more likely to get into it sooner. What was the hardest milestone on YouTube to reach? Believe it or not, it was actually 1,000 subscribers. I had only started creating regular content for about 6 months up until I reached 1,000 subscribers, so not super long. But I'd had a couple of hundred sort of floating there, and it felt like I really had to push hard for it. And the other reason is I think it was always on my mind that I wanted to get to 1,000 subscribers. And then after that, as each milestone came, 10,000, 20,000, 50,000, it sort of became less of a thing on my mind. It was still awesome to reach those milestones, but it wasn't something that I was thinking about as much. And so I think for that reason alone, that it was on my mind and I was thinking about getting to that 1,000 subscriber mark so often, that definitely was, and it felt like the hardest milestone to reach. What made you switch to Sony from Canon, and why Sony? So yeah, a little over 6 months ago, I did switch to the Sony a7S II, which is what I'm using right now, from the Canon T3i. And the main reason is that whilst the Canon T3i is a great camera, it really is an entry-level DSLR. So I always knew in the back of my mind that I'd have to upgrade at some point, and it was actually only between the Sony a7S II and the Panasonic GH5, because in order to get something similar from Canon, you have to actually go quite up in terms of cost, and I couldn't really justify spending that much when I could get either the Sony a7S II or the Panasonic GH5. Now, the reason why I went with the a7S II over the GH5 was basically the full frame sensor and the low light performance. All the other features, they sort of can match each other in. Panasonic GH5 has a better overall image quality, but I really wanted that full frame sensor, and that's why I ended up going with Sony. Would you recommend getting a Canon T3i and 50mm f1.8 lens to start a tech channel? Now, that is the same combination that I started my own tech channel with, and whilst the 50mm f1.8 holds up, I'm even using it right now for this video, the T3i is a little bit outdated. Even though it's a great camera and I love that camera, it always is going to have a soft spot in my heart. There are now a few other options that sort of match it in terms of price, but offer more features. So something like the Panasonic G7 is about $500 on eBay, and it offers 4K. And so if you're going to get that, then you're less likely to want to upgrade from it soon, unlike the Canon T3i, which you probably would want to upgrade from it pretty quickly after you got it, like a year or so after it, whereas the G7 is probably going to hold you for a little bit longer. You can even upgrade it with a speed booster to open that field of view a little bit further. And so I really think that something like the G7 would be a little bit better of a choice than the T3i at this stage. What/who inspired you for creating your YouTube content? It's a good question. I'm going to answer the what portion of that question. And basically, before I was creating regular YouTube videos, I was a video editor for a few different companies. And I basically got to a point where I realized that whilst I love making videos for people to watch, I don't love having clients involved. And so making YouTube videos, all you do is you make the video, you hit upload, publish, and it's done. No one watches it really before you hit upload. You don't have to get anything approved necessarily. And I love that fact about YouTube, that it's really free to just do whatever you want. You're in control of the content, no one's telling you what to do, and that is what inspired me to start making YouTube videos. Which software do you use for video and thumbnail editing? I'm gonna give you a pretty straight answer for this one. I use Adobe Premiere Pro for video editing alongside After Effects for any visual effects that I might do, and then I use Photoshop for all of my thumbnails. Do you believe companies get too much stick for following the notch? And which design would you prefer having? The notch, Xiaomi's Mix, or Samsung's Infinity with small bezels? First question, yes, I do think that they get too much stick, because in reality, we all would like, or at least I would like, a full bezel-less phone. And so the notch is just that next step before we get to that reality. And so, yeah, I think they do cop a little bit too much, because they're just giving us more display. Now, in terms of which design I prefer, you're probably going to see where this is going. I actually like the Essential phone design the most. It's got that small little notch cut out for the front-facing camera. And so I guess that answers your question. I prefer the notch compared to those other two designs. Did you go to film school? Not in the traditional sense of the word. I did do a TV production course, which was a 3-year degree. I also studied media throughout my high schooling or secondary schooling, and those two sorts of things is what got me into loving making videos and film content, but it wasn't traditional film school. It was a little more focused on TV production. Last question, why don't you post videos more often? And I try and stick to a 1 video a week schedule, but the reason why it's not more than that is that YouTube isn't my full-time job. I've got another job which takes up most of my time, and YouTube is only just barely a part-time job for me in terms of the income that I make from it. So it's really not at this point an option for it to be my full-time job anyway. And so I only get 1 day a week to work on YouTube videos, and given the sort of videos that I want to make, which are a little more cinematic than your average run-of-the-mill YouTube videos, it takes quite a lot of time for me to make each of my videos. And so 1 day a week is just barely enough time to create these sorts of videos. And even then I have to squeeze in extra editing and filming in other parts of my life, which I don't really like to do too often. I still need to have a life outside of work and outside of YouTube. So I try not to do that too often. So 1 video a week is really the max that I can create at this point, but perhaps in the future I might be able to do more. Maybe something like a live stream might help out with that. So if you're interested in that sort of thing, then maybe let me know down in the comments below. But that's where I'm going to leave it for today, guys. Hopefully you enjoyed this video, and I'm hoping that I covered what you wanted to know. But if I didn't, then I'm going to spend the next couple of days hanging around down in the comments section below. So if I didn't answer your question, or if you have another question that you'd like to ask me, post it down there and I'll do my best to hit you up with a reply. Also, if you guys aren't yet following me over on Twitter or Instagram, then I have those links down below as well. I post behind the scenes content and updates over on those accounts. So if you're interested in that sort of stuff, then make sure to follow me there. But aside from that, thank you guys very much for watching, and I will catch you later.